Hi, I'm Callista.
And I'm Allison, and welcome back to I Don't Want to Talk About Politics, a podcast where we discuss the issues you don't want to talk about around the Thanksgiving dinner table. Krista, how was your this last week for you?
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
We had my sister's graduation party on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Stop dancing and tooting your own horn in the background, Abby.
Oh yeah, we're recording in front of a live studio audience today.
It consists of one person and a pink cat. A pink cat as if she was going to go to some tea. Some afternoon tea.
She's actually supposed to go meet the queen.
Yeah. Going to meet the queen, didn't tell us. But we had our graduation party on Father's Day, so we did like a dads and grads party, which turned out good. Had some friends and family come.
Mm-hmm.
We had plenty of food, because we did instead of like charcuterie boards, we did a grazing table. So we had it at my uncle's house, and the whole entire island was covered in food, like charcuterie board foods. But instead of being on boards, it was just on the island.
We did that at my friend Jillian's wedding for the wedding party. Like the entire counter was just like a big charcuterie board.
That's what my cousin did for the wedding party at her wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what are we? You
What am I
can't. It's
looking at?
white screen. You would have to send the picture. She was trying to show you the picture, except it just turned it into a white screen. And then we also had brisket, some very, 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 very delicious brisket.
I love brisket.
And salad and potato salad, which were all delicious. But we had moral of that story, we had way too much food. And we had a bunch of cookies, and now we have a bunch of leftover cookies. Mm-hmm. And my dad was eating one of the leftover cookies this morning, and he was eating a chocolate chip cookie. They're in the freezer, Abby. He was eating a chocolate chip cookie, and they had gotten stuck on top of the lemon cookies. And there was so much lemon in the lemon cookies because they were all homemade by somebody my mom works with. And the lemon transferred from the lemon cookies to the chocolate chip cookies. He's like, I mean, I'm going to eat it. It's definitely different, but those cookies were full of so much lemon. They were delicious, but yeah,
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it tastes wrong.
Yeah. I don't think it would, like, taste bad, but you would just have in, like, your mind, you would be like, I'm eating this chocolate chip cookie, and then there would be a hint of lemon, and you're like, this is not how this is supposed to taste.
It's like when you leave something, like when something's in the fridge and it wasn't, like, sealed all the way, so it tastes like everything else that was in the fridge.
It's like when you have cooked broccoli in the fridge, and then something else somehow tastes like cooked broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
Cooked broccoli is the worst smell that could come out of a fridge.
That is true.
I love broccoli first day cooked. If it's in the fridge, it smells disgusting, and then I don't want it.
No. Cold steamed broccoli is so good.
It is good. But it definitely takes me a lot to eat it because just the thought of the smell, like that is one of my least favorite smells is cooked broccoli in the refrigerator.
I used to eat cold steamed broccoli for breakfast at the bus stop every morning on the way to school. I'd stand up there. It's Oregon, so it'd probably be like pouring rain under the tree because Oregonians, we don't use umbrellas. So I'd be standing under the tree, and then I would be eating cold steamed broccoli out of a little Tupperware container.
I always eat like the leftover corn because we like cooked corn with like our spaghetti. Mm-hmm. And I always eat the leftover cold, like the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then my sisters call me odd, but it's not the only time they call me odd, so I just carry on with my day.
A lot of people I think most people's graduations are done now, which we both graduated 2 years ago because we graduated the same year. Mm-hmm. Do you have any interesting, fun little graduation stories?
My graduation party was like 106. because we were having record high temperatures in June. Abigail's graduation party was not 106. It was a big difference. It was actually a little bit chilly on Sunday. And we're all like, these are very different temperatures.
My dad.
What was that? Oh, so my graduation was virtual, even though it was 2021, because I graduated from the community college with my associates. And I took the time to fill out the form so that I would have my picture on the screen and like a little statement, and they would pronounce my name right. Like I had to put in my or like call this number and leave a message with the correct pronunciation of my name, and they ignored all of it. And so I just have an ugly picture of the logo, and they pronounced my name wrong.
Oh, that's so sad.
I was like, not only do I have a virtual graduation, I also just get a picture of the logo, and they pronounced my name wrong. And they didn't even put all of my degrees on there, because technically I graduated with like 2 certificates also. And yeah, I was like, they also forgot to put that I was honors. I was like, I worked hard for that.
It poured, so I did not. I was
no kidding. You live in Oregon.
Okay, June, it does not rain a lot in June. It has been raining the past couple days, but
June is our rainiest month.
Our rainiest month is October. I did not get anything my senior year because I also graduated in 2021. But the one thing I did get was a graduation. And a lot of people cried at graduation. I did not cry at graduation. We did do a huge showcase for the end of the year, since we didn't get to do any competitions for dance teams. So we did a showcase at the end of the year. And so we did like all our routines from that year. And at the end of it, I bawled at that because like essentially my entire high school experience was just dance team. Like that was the only thing I cared about in high school. But at my graduation, the rehearsal that morning, it poured rain the entire time. It poured rain the entire time, like torrential downpour. And then my friends and I went to, so my friend Jordan, who I host my other podcast with, and I have been friends since kindergarten. And so we got to walk together, and then we walked with her twin brother and our other friend Gina. And so then we went to breakfast, and then I went to lunch with my friends from dance team, and we did like a little lunch party. And then that night for graduation, it was beautiful the entire time, but it was really funny because we're all waiting to like walk out onto the field, because we walked out onto the field together to go sit down, and we're waiting, and I'm sitting there, and my hat I decorated my cat, and I'm very proud of it, by the way, because it was all like it was like all antique pieces of pages from books, and it has like a blue ribbon around it. You know what? We'll post some graduation photos for this episode, and I'll show you. And it says, on to the next story on it. And then Jordan did a matching one where it was all postcards, and hers was with pink ribbon. And it says, hers was Adventures Out There.
I like it.
Those two. We kind of did a little matching one. But we did, but I was standing in line, and so I was not an honor student, so I had like my regular cords. But then they tried to start a Black Student Union at our school, and there was only 5 people in the Black Student Union because there was only 5 Black people at my school. And they did it like twice, and then all of us stopped showing up because they stopped providing free pizza.
I mean, I would stop showing up too.
The guy came around, and so in my pictures, I'm wearing like an actual, like I had like cords. It wasn't cords. It was like a full scarf showing like I graduated with some kind of like honors with Black Student Union. My parents are like, where the heck did you get that? I'm like, I don't know. They put it on me like 2 minutes before I walked out into the field. And then it was fine almost the entire thing. And then like the moment they announced the last name, the last person, it was like full torrential downpour. Like people's hats were falling apart and everything, and so it just poured rain the entire time we were taking pictures. So all of my graduation pictures, I am completely soaking wet in them.
All of my graduation pictures, well, my grad party pictures, my fake cap and gown pictures, because I didn't get a gown because I was like, I'm not paying $25 to get a gown and I'm not walking. So I just had my cap, and then we got a dress that matched my cap because we're like, well, I would wear the dress again. And because like if it was a black gown, I could just like use it for GCU, but I can't because it was a royal blue gown, because they say royal blue, perfect color. But yeah, so we were hot and sticky for my graduation pictures or party pictures.
My dad graduated also from Sprague High School, and he graduated on the hottest day ever recorded in Oregon. And we wear black gowns. And so technically, now I get to reuse my black gown for GCU, which I'm happy about.
Nice. Yeah. SCC says, let's do the ugliest blue ever is.
Amanda had a weird color too. Wasn't hers like green or something?
Some odd color, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I would have liked ours orange, but I do like those schools that do white. I think the white's really pretty.
Yeah. I think graduation gowns should just be the same color all the way across every school.
I think it's fun.
I don't know. Like, I feel like college is one color and high school one color, or the high schools could be different color. I don't know.
Do we feel as if we are ready to get on to the top news stories of this week?
I think so. I think that would be a good idea. Otherwise, we're gonna keep rambling about graduations.
I would not say these are necessarily the top news stories of the week, by the way. I just feel like neither of us wanted to talk about Trump. But we'll start off with Indiana. So a federal judge issued an order Friday stopping an Indiana ban on puberty blockers and hormones for transgender minors from taking effect as scheduled July 1st. So an article from PBS, the bill from U.S. District Court Judge James Patrick Hanlon would allow the law's prohibition on gender-affirming surgeries to take effect. Hanlon's order also blocks provisions that would prohibit Indiana doctors from communicating with out-of-state doctors about gender-affirming care for their parents younger than 18. Within hours of it being signed into law, the American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana filed a lawsuit. So continue on in an article from NPR. They say that Indiana's Republican-dominated legislature approved the ban after contentious hearings that primarily featured testimony from vocal opponents, with many arguing that gender-affirming care lessened the risk of depression and suicide among transgender youth.
Okay.
And they continue to say that many argued that the gender-affirming care lessened the risk of depression and suicide among young people diagnosed with gender dysphoria or distress caused when gender identity doesn't match a person's assigned sex. The judge who blocked the ruling claimed that the ACLU had provided evidence of risk to minor in health and well-being from gender dysphoria if those treatments can no longer be provided to minors.
That hurt my brain.
Indiana, what happens? They were so close. It got passed on April 5th. It was banning all gender-affirming care. And they couldn't even discuss it with doctors outside the state. And now they're saying that it's now they are reversing this because it's somehow a danger for them not to have a surgery that has long-lasting effects that we don't know what these long-lasting effects are.
That people are now speaking out who got them when they were minors and regretting all their decisions or their parents' decisions or the doctor's decisions, and they are yeah, no.
That's all that I had on that.
Okay. The Dodgers had their Pride Night, and they had a group of drag performers who dressed as nuns called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence come. They originally had canceled the event, and then the alphabet community decided that they were outraged. So Dodgers decided to invite them back. Well, this outraged the Catholics and Christians alike for very obvious reasons. Because this group one mocks God, this group mocks Catholic traditions, and is just straight up absurd. No one wants to see an overly sexual person acting like Jesus on the cross. They literally pole dance on the crucifix. And one of the leaders of the group was like, "Yeah, it's all satire. We don't really believe this. There's no satire when you're mocking God, no matter what. If you're gonna make jokes about mocking God, I'm still gonna have an issue with it, but especially when you're, like, being sexual and mocking God. It's very odd, and they definitely need some mental help.
Mhm.
They think this delusion that they're living in is okay. Um, but on Pride Night, thousands of people gathered outside the stadium in protest. Yeah, and then, they also honored the man who exposed himself to the young girl, the 17-year-old in at the YMCA in California. I don't remember which YMCA it was, but they honored this guy on Pride Night because he's, so great, and now thinks he can get pregnant. He's been going to the doctor. I was like, no, it's not how that works. Um, as we said, the Dodgers lost by a lot. They were 0-3 the whole series, so they lost every single game.
Yes, they did.
Maybe that's a sign to not mock God.
How embarrassing that you got beat by a city that's somehow worse in your own state. Like you're somehow making San Francisco look good.
Exactly.
As you can tell, I'm a huge Giants fan. Yes. We've gone down there to Giants games for my birthday a couple different times. I love the Giants, and watching them get beat Sunday was very fun. That's what we did for Father's Day.
Or watching the Dodgers get beat by the Giants. The Giants didn't get beat.
Yeah, watching the Dodgers get beat by the Giants Sunday was a very fun Father's Day thing. And then Saturday, my dad and I had gone out to dinner, and he did ignore me most of the time to keep him from the score. I was like, they're winning by like 15 points, and it's the bottom of the ninth. I think they're gonna pull through.
Yeah, but maybe don't mock God. But yeah, so that was all on that story.
This is a weird story. This next one. So we're talking about a Supreme Court case that was just resolved. So Holland, which is not how you say it, it's Haaland, the Brackeen, which is Brackeen. I believe that they're both Native American names. So laugh at me. Is it right? They're Native American names. I can't say them. Callista's laughing at me. Deb Haaland is the Secretary of Interior. So I do not believe that she is Native American, but she does have a very hard last name to say, so it's Deb. Why were you laughing at me?
So it was just really funny because you were like, "That's not how it's pronounced," and then you started spelling it out. And I was like you shouting or saying out these letters is gonna help anyone pronounce the name.
We're gonna call her Deb. So the petitioner is Deb, and then it's V Chat. Is Chat short for something?
I don't know.
Chat Everett Brackeen. Is that short for a child is that short for like a title, or is his first name just Chat?
I don't know.
One moment.
I mean, there's parents that name their kids really odd things, so anything's possible.
Okay, we're gonna call him Chat. So it's Deb v. Chat, but it's Haaland v. Brackeen. So here are the facts of the case. So this was granted in February 28, 2022. It was argued November 9th of 2022, and then it was just decided June 15th. So the Indian Child Welfare Act, which is a federal law that was enacted in 1978, restricts the removal of Native American children. It restricts the removal of Native American children from their families and establishes a preference that Native American children who are removed from their families be placed with extended family members or Native foster homes. Several individuals and states filed a lawsuit challenging the law as violating constitutional anti-commandeering principles of the 10th Amendment, which, Calista, the 10th Amendment was?
That went in one ear and out the other. Last week, don't know.
I have to double check myself. I don't know how, because you did do the 10th Amendment.
I did do the 10th Amendment, but much like the 10 Commandments, number 10, that's just too many numbers.
The 10th Amendment was powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Yes. I remember now.
So, several individuals and states filed a lawsuit challenging the law as violating constitutional anti-commandeering principles of the 10th Amendment. The plaintiffs include several couples who wished to adopt or foster Native children, a woman who wished for her Native biological child to be adopted by non-Natives, and the states of Texas, Louisiana, and Indiana. The district court ruled for the plaintiffs, striking down portions of the ICWA. The defendants appealed, and a panel of the U.S. Courts of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit Court reversed. In a fractured ruling, the Fifth Circuit Court, sitting en banc, upheld portions of the district court's decision and reversed other portions. So last part made no sense. But so the question that the case is asking is basically, do the Indian Child Welfare Act's restrictions on placement of Native American children violate anti-commandeering principles of the 10th Amendment? So in a 7-2 decision, the court ruled that the law doesn't impermissibly pose a federal mandate on traditionally state-regulated areas of power. So Amy Coney Barrett wrote the majority. So Amy Coney Barrett wrote the concurring opinion, as well as Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. And so she said that the Constitution does not erect a firewall around family law. So the dissenting views does not erect a firewall around family law. And so then for the dissenting views on it, which I found really interesting. So Clarence Thomas says that the Constitution's Indian protections do not extend beyond the matter of trade and commerce. So he believes that the Constitution, there's no federal, okay. What he's saying is that there's nothing in the Constitution that says that that they can't have a say in family law, just not in trade and commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alito, who was the other one who voted against this, said that Congress doesn't have the power to sacrifice best interests of vulnerable children to promote the interests of the tribe in maintaining membership. So the question is here, the controversy is here, is that, is it like, okay, is it not, is it, I don't know, like, I guess the moral question is here, is it morally correct that children should there should be a priority of children to be placed in a foster home or with a family that is their own community, and that should be the priority, and not like the family that could be, even if a family that maybe is more deserving but a different community.
I don't know, I feel like that's hard.
Because
I feel it should, like, the priority could go to, like, another family, but it's when they're like, "But let's put or into foster care." It's like, well, if there's another family lined up willing to adopt this child, but because they're a different race, you're not letting them, then you're basically making this decision for this child when they could have had a better life.
Yeah. Like,
But,
okay.
like, I understand if, like, a family wants, they're like, "Yeah, we want, like, our child," I guess, like, the Native Americans are like, "Well, it's our culture." And so, like, they would want the kids of their culture to be raised that way, but, like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, it's, like, difficult. Like, there's a TV show called Shameless, and in one of the seasons of Shameless, there's a mom there, and she was dating this guy, and they were going to adopt, so his sister had died, and so they were gonna adopt the nieces and nephews.
Uh-huh.
And then he ended up breaking up with her, but she still wanted to adopt them. But because she wasn't Native American, they had them go live with the grandpa, who was like less qualified to take care of them, but they wanted to keep them within their own culture.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I see the cultural aspect of it, but it's like, also you want a quality of life for these kids, and, like, yeah, I think, like, the culture aspect is hard, like, as Americans, because we don't, like, we have culture, but it's not the same as, like, other cultures and other, I guess, like, what am I trying to say?
No, I completely understand. Like, okay, so both my little brother and I are adopted, and we are both adopted into a white family. And
Mhm.
so it's like, I feel like this bill is opening it too much that this can expand to other races, where they're like, it might be better if we give priority to Black parents so that they're raised within the same culture.
True.
And they could do that with anything. Like now, like, and I don't know. I just feel like it's too much of like, let me like pick and choose the race of the kid that I.
Yeah, and then if you look at it that way, it's like segregation, like,
Yeah,
what
it's
we're
like
bringing with,
segregation. It's like it's
and
weird,
then
but
if
it's
you look
like
at it,
Amazon shopping for kids.
yeah, and then if you look at it that way, like, take a Chinese kid, for example. A lot of these kids, there's not families that in China that can, like, adopt them, like, unless there's a Chinese family here that can adopt them. But, like, because of all their strict rules under the communist regime, like, they're only allowed to have a
Mhm.
certain number of kids, so they have to put their kids up for adoption.
By the way, the people who are anti-adopting kids from a different race absolutely are insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen so many, my mom's gotten crap, like, my parents have gotten crap for this. Like, they're like, so, people are so anti people adopting kids from another race. It is so bizarre to me.
The other one, like, when people go and adopt, say that somebody went to Thailand to adopt a kid, and they're like, well, we have so many kids you can adopt here.
Yes, and there's also so many kids you can adopt there. That's just...
Yeah, I'm like, God called you to adopt a certain, like, family or a certain kid. Like, he called you to bring a certain kid up, like, raise them. And
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I get there's lots of kids here that need help, but also our adoption system isn't great.
Yeah.
I hate when
No.
I hate when pro-choicers use that
No,
argument.
pro-choicers, like, it's not pro-choicers who adopt, it's conservatives.
Exactly.
Like, if you look at the most people who adopt, it's Christians.
Exactly. But they're like, yeah, and no one's there's so many kids to adopt, and it's like every single person would be like if they're in the financial means to and like have the ability to step up, we're willing to do it. It's your side of the aisle that's not willing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyways, we've digressed.
Yeah, it's a hard question
Yeah,
because I don't feel like there's necessarily a right answer.
exactly. Because like no matter what way you look at it, it brings up like ethical questions and like moral questions and
All right. Sister,
yeah,
are you ready for our last story?
I am. So Daniel Ellsberg passed away at the age of 92. He was the person who leaked the Pentagon Papers that detailed the US actions during the Vietnam War. Uh, he, back in March, posted on his Facebook that he was diagnosed with an inoperable pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, that word.
That's
Pancreatic
what
cancer.
Patrick Swayze died of.
Yeah, so he was inoperable pancreatic cancer, which he had the scans for on February 17th. So he did not, it was 3 months, 4 months after he was diagnosed.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Pancreatic cancer is like one of the worst cancers you can get. It's very painful.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so he exposed them, and yep, that was all. He died at the age of 92.
Kind of sad. Like, okay, like, for one, the Pentagon Papers did a lot in the
Mhm.
way that case opened up a lot more freedoms for us,
Uh-huh.
like, especially regarding freedom of press. It's such a good example of what actual good reporting looks like.
Uh-huh.
It's also like just like a really interesting story. The Post with Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks is a good movie, and it details the Washington Post regarding how their reaction to it, because technically the Pentagon Papers were released by the New York Times, but the
Yeah.
Washington Post also published them. Um, and then there was a big lawsuit and it was expedited and stuff. And it's a really interesting story. The Post. I definitely recommend. I believe Meryl Streep either won or was nominated for an Oscar for that movie. Um, it's very good.
It would be so
Uh,
sad be getting to 92 and then being diagnosed with cancer. And like you're going to die anyways, but like
mhm.
just being like, "Oh, I made it this far now." Yeah. So that's all our news for this week.
Are we ready for this week's main topic?
Yes.
I'm actually really excited.
I am too. I had some great fun. Also, was tortured, but it's fine.
I also had some great fun and was also tortured. So this week we are talking about family vloggers, which is kind of a unique topic. We're focusing on kind of like the world of family vloggers and like the little bit more recent to the game TikTok parents. This like entire topic is a web of it's like a web of different conversations that's regarding children and kind of like regarding children on screen and like the morals of parents behind using your children to essentially fund your lifestyles.
Exactly.
Starting off, I would like to mention that we're not an unbiased thing. I do come in with a bias that I hate family vloggers so much. Like so much. But I also know I'm a huge hypocrite because I love Dance Moms. But I hate family vloggers so much. And
I mean, I hate TikTok parents.
This
we
entire
talked about this on our Mother's Day episode.
I hate family vloggers so much. I've never watched a family vlog like of any type before this day.
And now you're watching them out of hate and fun.
Yeah. So we'll start off by doing some examples of like kind of 4 different of some of the most famous family vloggers. So I would say probably the most famous YouTube family is the LaBrants. So the LaBrants started in August of 2012. They have 5 channels, but their main channel and the original one is called the LaBrant Family. It features the entire family, but is ran by both Savannah and Cole, the parents. It has 13 million subscribers, with their most popular video having over 121 million views. They post about their lives, they do challenges, they do like scripted pranks, and they do like a lot of vlogs. They have another channel that their other channels include one called Cole and Ev, which is like a father-daughter channel that's targeted towards kids, which does challenge content. It's pretty recent, but it already has about 316,000 subscribers. And then Cole LaBrant has his own channel, which is self-titled, and essentially like standard basic YouTube content. Like he does like rip off like Mark Grober and Mr. Beast stuff where he's like, I don't know, like, can I survive 3 days in Walmart with only pickles to eat or whatever. They like that type of stuff, or does like you'll not believe what prank I did, or like eating the hottest hot pepper you've ever seen, hashtag Carolina Reaper, hashtag I cried.
Hashtag every other YouTuber in the history of YouTube.
Yeah, I refuse to watch his videos, so I'm making these up. But he has 514,000 subscribers. And then they have a channel called P is for Posy, which is challenges and random content starring their 4-year-old daughter. And finally, they have Everly, which is their oldest daughter, who was 4 when they started the show, when they started their channel, and is now, I believe, 11, maybe almost 12. She has 3.97 million subscribers, so out of the individual channels, she has the most. And she essentially does the same thing as like the same sort of content as like JoJo Siwa and like most other kind of child YouTubers, or like I guess with JoJo Siwa, former child YouTubers. But like the weird thing about her videos, because I watch a lot of her videos, the weird thing about her videos is that it's like all filmed and like orchestrated mainly from her parents' perspective, but all the titles are written from her perspective. Odd. It's so odd. They also use her channel to promote Cole's channel.
Also odd.
It's very odd. So, they've been in some controversies. Not nearly as many as I thought they did, but I think it's just because I know a lot of people hate them. And okay, I would like to say they run some controversy because one of their biggest ones recently is because they did a documentary on abortion and they spoke out against it because they're like, no, they're very publicly Christian. They're very public about their faith. And they don't deserve any of the hate they get towards that. Like, I didn't watch a documentary, but from what I've seen of it, it's not fair for them to get hate for it.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people got mad because they what's it called? Compared how many children are being aborted to Jews who were killed in the Holocaust. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like that's a fair statement. Like, that's a fair statement. It's genocide.
That is a very fair statement.
Both of them are mass genocide. And even if you don't declare it a lie, like this, even if you don't think that it's a lie, they do. And for them to compare it to that when it's the same numbers, then yes.
I mean, also, if you know, like, the history of Planned Parenthood,
they're Nazis.
The Nazis and
yeah.
Her
so
first name left my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Zeger.
Margaret Singer.
Singer. There we go. Zeger is wrong person.
Yeah. So that is like one of their biggest ones. I didn't really do anything about it because it's not fair for them to get hate for that. But this one's actually bad. So there is a video where they did a prank where the parents tell Everly that they're giving their dog away. And she's like bawling her eyes out. She's like bawling her eyes out. She's crying. They have like the camera like right up in her face. She doesn't want to talk to the camera, and she's like hysterically crying the entire time and like doesn't want to talk about it, but they said they're giving the dog away and stuff. And even at the end, when they like reveal that they're not giving the dog away, she's still like hysterically crying and stuff. And they like premiered this. So like when you premiere a video, it like shows like the thumbnail, and then it shows like the thumbnail, and then when it's premiering, and then like they monetized it, and it was up for a long time. And I still think to this day they never took it down. But like it got a ton of backlash on it that they came out with an apology afterwards. I was like, how can you like sit and edit that for like however many hours it took you to edit that and still post it?
Exactly.
Like so there's that one. And so then they've done this multiple times, but they got in trouble for clickbaiting their child's health. So they clickbaited Posey, the 4-year-old, getting cancer.
Yes, I heard of that one. I was like,
and so like actually they were like, actually she was fine, but they like clickbaited her getting cancer. And then like the thing about the video is that they actually did a lot of good work. They like went around and talked to a whole bunch of families with cancer and like brought them stuff with kids with cancer. And they did the whole thing on how families like cope with kids with cancer. And so if they just had it clickbaited her having cancer, it could have been a fantastic video.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So also there is a two things. Everly's dad. So Everly, so Savannah, the mom, had Everly with a different man, and then all the rest of their kids are with Cole. And so Everly's biological dad died. And so they took like a month off of recording and then like immediately and then started recording again like a month later. And I just like don't feel like that's enough time for like a 12-year-old to mourn their dad dying.
And that's something you can't really put a time limit to. Like everyone is different.
And around the same time, they pulled her out of school and started homeschooling her. And they moved from LA to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of controversy about them moving. A lot of controversy around them pulling her out of school, which I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, from the vlogs I watched of them homeschooling her, I mean, like, she's fine. Like, I don't know. I honestly do feel it might be better for her to be at home than at school, especially if they're posting her on the internet every day.
And then
there's a controversy about them moving from LA to Tennessee because of some recent bills that might be passed in Arizona, in California, regarding family vlogging. So a lot of people said that, because there's already been stuff that's been passed in Illinois and Washington, but that's the controversy around them moving. Anyways, that's the LaBrants. I had to sit and watch their videos, and it was awful. Like, it was truly so bad. I'm sorry. I know she's 11. She's so annoying. Like, she literally is so annoying. I could not stand her, and watching her dance videos made me like when I like curl up in a ball and die. And then Savannah and Cole are the most boring people on the planet. They're so boring. And it's so uncomfortable that it's so clear they don't like each other, and it's so uncomfortable because he like gets up in her face with the camera, and it's I did not like these people.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my bit.
Okay, so next is the Ace family. They launched their channel back in 2016, and it has 18.5 million subscribers. I almost said views. I don't know why I almost said views, but
I was like, that's a small amount of views for that channel. That does not seem right.
No subscribers. The Ace family is family vloggers, obviously. They put out their videos about their day-to-day lives, challenges, and pranks. They have lots of controversy surrounding them, so I just chose a few. Austin McBroom, who is the father, has many allegations against him, including child abuse, rape, sexual assault. It's rumored that he has cheated on his wife, Catherine. Other YouTubers, including Jake Paul and Cole Kerrigan, have accused him of such allegations. So other YouTubers are going after him. I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure some of them are true, but I'm like, are they going? Because some of them posted it as like videos. Like, were you trying to get views, or did these things really happen?
Yeah.
Austin denied claims of alleged rape by sending screenshots of the text between the girl who I'm pretty sure it was Jake Paul who was accusing him of rape. And he sent them to Jake Paul claiming that the girl said there was nothing happened, there was no rape involved. I'm like, I don't know if he made up these screenshots. Very possible, but I feel like if a girl is saying that she wasn't raped, I feel like it is believable unless she was told to be silent, which is also possible. And that these claims were between 2019 and 2021. The next one is Austin has shown predatory and potentially abusive behavior towards children, which, as a family vlogger and a father, there's a lot of issues with that. In 2019, Austin was under fire after posting a vlog of him bringing a young child into an adult-themed lollipop store. This young child was thought to be his wife's half-sister, which that combination all seems very odd. Why would you be taking your wife's half-sister who's underage to an adult-themed lollipop shop?
That is weird.
It's just very odd. He was accused of inappropriately sexualizing the young girl. Like, especially looking at, like, today's society, like, I know that this happened back in 2019, but, like, that's happening now, and it's just like, this is odd.
Mm-hmm.
This is odd behavior. Normal people would not do that. He's like, "It was just a joke." I'm like, "You don't do that. You don't vlog that as a joke and post it on the internet for everyone to see."
Mm-hmm.
And then a year later, he was seen slapping his daughter's butt in a live stream, and people claimed it was sexual.
I remember that. And his daughter was pretty young at the time, so I don't find that
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, not sure about that one. But that is everything on the Ace family. So it's
Yeah.
mostly just the Ace father. Mostly
Yeah.
just Austin.
Austin is they're also known, the parents specifically are known kind of being for being scammers. Like that's like there's a lot of things that they've promised or like tried to sell. It's been like essentially snake oil. Like they did like a big um festival last year and it was like a huge scam and everything. I don't know. They're kind of known for being like scammers. Like
Yeah.
they'll like sell merch and it's not great and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So
On their channel, you can get a Tesla right now, so you might get a toy Tesla, but, in case you wanted to win a Tesla.
what family was it that did they sold like a doll that was supposed to be modeled after their newborn baby? Do you remember that?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't know. The only family YouTubers we ever watched was What's Inside, and they literally didn't vlog their life. They literally cut things open.
So they were called the Ingham family and they're like UK vloggers and they were selling a doll version of their newborn son.
That seems very
And people got
pedophilic.
a lot of hate for it.
That seems very odd. Like, why would you want to sell a model of your child?
They sold it for $340 too.
And it probably went to some old guy who's a predator who wanted something. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So I couldn't find a lot of specific things on TikTok families because it's kind of easy for them to cycle through so fast.
Uh-huh.
But I did find specifically this TikTok family, and literally they have been like scraped from TikTok. Like they're just gone after that. So I don't have like any video references of it, but there's tons of news articles. But the Kelly fam, who if this is the right one, the Kelly fam, I believe if this is their correct channel, which it might not be, but I'm pretty sure it is. If this is their correct channel, are on Instagram and TikTok at the Kelly family. On TikTok, I believe that they have 3.4. I think what they did is they changed their username so that people will be less willing to search them. But they have 4.5 followers on 4.5 million followers on TikTok with 166.7 million likes on TikTok. And then they have 517,000 subscribers. Sorry, 571,000 subscribers on YouTube with 481 videos. That's a lot of videos for only being on here for like 4 years. Okay, sorry, that distracts me. Anyways, they got in trouble. They do like family vlogging stuff. Like pretty much everything they do is family vlogging. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do pranks, sometimes they do challenges, but they got in trouble because they went to Disneyland and their son was too short to get on the rides. And so they bought him platform shoes to wear so that he would reach the height limit in order to be able to to reach the rides. And so they obviously got a ton of backlash over it. Because that is very unsafe. Like, those height limits are put in place for a reason. And they said they only did it for like clickbait for YouTube, but the family's being called out for like promoting dangerous behaviors.
The amount of times I worked at the YMCA and we had to slide. The amount of times parents complained when I turned their kid away because their kid wasn't tall enough. Or the other one, they were like, well, they're wearing a life jacket. I was like, it doesn't matter whether they're wearing a life jacket. If they are shorter than, I think it was like 3 feet something. I don't know. I was like, I can't let them go down. And they would get mad at me. And they're like, well, you're not the parent. I'm like, well, I'm here to keep your child safe because clearly you can't.
Yeah.
Much like when they yelled at me for their child diving in the 3-foot and I yelled at their kids for diving in the 3-foot. I watched a little kid dive in the 1-foot. That was the most terrifying moment of my life.
Did he crack his head open?
No, luckily he was wearing a life jacket, so he popped up and didn't hit anything. But I was like, I'm gonna have to do a spinal on a child, and then these parents are gonna be like, well, you weren't doing your job, but I was doing my job. The child wasn't listening to me. But yes, go on.
Safety. That was it for me.
Okay. The next one is 8 Passengers, which I had way too much fun looking into this family.
I'm kind of jealous that you got to do this one because I know I've watched so many videos on 8 Passengers. They're the only ones that I knew like most of their controversies going into this one. And I was like, I literally messaged Callista because I knew they had so many, being like, Callista, just so you know, you don't have to do all of them. And also the mom from 8 Passengers is crazy.
She is psychotic. Yeah, no, I was like, it's just going along. Like, I was like, the Ace family, I got very bored of. And I was like, you know what? I don't really care to look into them anymore. And then this family, I was like, and there's this and there's this. What do I want to talk about? But 8 Passengers is another family with lots of controversy. They film every moment of their life and their kids' lives. Every moment.
Every single moment.
And every milestone. That's the one that makes me mad. It's like when these family vloggers film the milestones, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's your special moment. Like, your child is taking their first steps. Your child is getting baptized. Your child, like, they did every single thing. I'm like, these are their special moments that you should share as a family and not necessarily with the whole world. Like, share it with your family and your, like, close group of people, but not the whole world.
Like, put it on your Facebook and let it be.
Exactly. Like, it will get around. So Ruby and Kevin Franks are the parents, and they were accused of child abuse back in 2020 when Chad, one of their sons, their oldest son, at the time was 15 years old, and he made a statement. He said, "My bedroom was taken away for 7 months. I was sleeping on a beanbag since October."
I remember this.
My immediate thought was like, what? why would you get your bedroom taken away? Like, what did you do to get your bedroom taken away?
He didn't like
I've
do
like heard
anything.
of families taking the door off because like you.
Yeah. You're like,
But
I
yeah,
think of terrible, horrendous kids who had their doors taken off. And I was like, that was me.
um, the reasoning behind it wasn't even that bad. It was
No.
what? Why? Anyways, the reason he got his room taken away. The reason was he was playing pranks on his brother, as does every child, especially like with all the YouTube channels, because every YouTube channel is prank videos, or at least has a few prank videos. And one of them included he made his little brother pack for a fake Disneyland trip. And then,
That's a funny prank.
yes, I don't know why the next one makes me laugh, and it's so terrible. And he also hung his little brother from a basketball hoop.
I remember that one. That was funny.
Like, I shouldn't laugh, but also it's really funny. But yeah, no, I feel like I would have been the one to be like, we're going to Seattle, pack your bag.
I don't
But I,
know I don't know if you read about this, but I know that like the mom like hates him. Like she just hates him. And you can just
yeah,
kind of tell because she like unfairly targets him. Like I know that she like made him quit football.
hmm
Like made him like quit football, which like the only escape that he had from the house was like
yeah,
and it was and I remember seeing that video and you could like tell how sad he was and it's just like so heartbreaking. Like
yeah.
out of all the kids in that family, I feel the worst for him and
Uh,
the ones in preschool. Those two.
uh,
It makes my heart hurt.
yeah. Um, this part was what really got me. He was removed from the room by recommendation of a therapist. Why was the therapist recommending this? Because he shared the room with his younger brother who he was pulling all the pranks on. So they decided to remove him from the room due to these pranks. I was like, is he doing them in the middle of the night? No. Why are you removing him? Um, uh, drama channels of YouTube and TikTok, where you get all your useful information, obviously.
There is nothing wrong with the look. You just got to find the right one. I will send you my sources.
Started accusing the family of abuse because they thought it to be a cruel and disproportionate form of discipline. Which, yes, yes, taking a child's bedroom from him for a prank
And a bed, like their
and a bed.
bed, like he's 15
Well,
and tall.
yeah. So, uh, parents claimed he was given several options but chose to sleep on the beanbag. So the other options were a pull-up bed in the guest room and a blow-up mattress, and he chose the beanbag. So they're like, well, that was their justification. He, the Ruby, the mom goes, what people aren't understanding is that we give our children choice in everything. We are teaching our children to be self-governing. So it was always very open with our son that he gets to choose how long he's separate from his brother and dependent upon his behavior. I was like, that you still took your child's bed. Um, because of this punishment, Chad suffered years of physical and emotional damaging behavior. Like, no kidding. He was sent to the Onzi Foundation Wilderness Therapy Program to better himself.
If you ever want to know how bad these were, there's a documentary that I can't remember the name of, but there's also Paris Hilton's book because she was sent to one of these places, and they do some insane stuff. There are kids who have died there because of the amount of abuse that goes on there. They do like physical, like insane, like physical and emotional abuse.
Yes, it's like, I want to. Did they give them a choice in having a camera in their face every day? They claim they give them choices in everything.
I hope he sues the family one day. Like, I hope he sues his parents for everything they're worth.
Yeah, I was like, oh. And then another allegation of child abuse was Ruby sent Eve, who's was 6 at the time. She's the littlest. She sent her to school with no lunch one day because she forgot to pack her lunch. Eve forgot to pack her lunch. So people claim she was starving her kid. Why was a 6-year-old responsible for packing her own lunch?
It gets worse though, right? Because the teacher tried to give her food, and then she got mad for the teacher giving her food.
And the teacher also wanted her to drive and bring her lunch, and she's like, well, it's a 40-minute drive to school. She'll survive. I'm not driving to get her food. She said, my heart broke for her, Ruby said, and I told her, oh, honey, my darling, I am so sorry. You're going to be hungry, and I'm so uncomfortable with you. I'm going to be uncomfortable alongside you because I know you are so capable of picking up your lunch off the front door rug and taking it with you when you go get in the car.
She's 6. She forgets things.
Half the 6-year-olds don't even make it out of the door with shoes on. Oh. Allison, do you make it out the door with shoes?
Well, okay. Sometimes. Like 80% of the time, I make it out of the door with shoes on.
There's been times I've forgotten lunch. Okay, most of that was I wasn't planning on staying out on campus all day, and then I had no dining dollars, and then I was hungry, and
then we went to Sonic.
And my mom said, that's such a college thing to do. She refused to drive Eve her lunch, and she said, everything is a lesson. Starving your child is a lesson? Starving your child's not going to teach them anything. Like, she's not going to remember. She's 6. She's not going to teach her to remember to grab her lunch because they get distracted. There's a butterfly flying by. They're going to drop their lunch and run and get the butterfly instead. Allison, you do that too? I'm just going to find your backpack one day in the middle of campus and I'm going to be like...
You're going to see me barefoot, sprinting down Lopes Way. Like, get out, Sal, running down Lopes Way after a butterfly.
And I'm just going to be like, I'm going to just go back to my room now. All of this resulted in eventually CPS being called. When CPS showed up, everything looked happy and normal because they were all baking bread and playing a game. And little side note, having to call CPS sucks. Not fun. Absolutely horrendous.
It concerns me that she still has custody of these kids. It's like absolutely insane to me.
And then, so I was like, I could talk about more controversies, but I decided, so their oldest, Sherry, their daughter, went on a podcast. I don't remember when. Hold up.
It's very recent because...
Yes.
It's very recent because she did get a lot of hate because she wasn't speaking out against the family, and she only recently started doing it. And it's probably just because she started attending therapy and they made her realize that her parents were insane.
Yeah, it was like very recent, like 2 months
I
ago.
remember it was within the past like couple months.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the podcast because I was listening to T Spill, which is not the podcast she went on, but they were reacting to the podcast. She spoke out about her mom and all the things. Most of this was regarding her mom joining a life group program called Connections, which, as she talked about it, I was like, this is a cult.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, straight up a cult. Her mom joining this group destroyed the family more than everything else that happened when the kids were younger. The teachings were extremely harsh and judgmental, and she even described it as cultish.
Mm-hmm.
The family started distancing from her, but this didn't stop her. Ruby got more involved. She started Moms of Truth, an online self-help group, which takes these truths that they believe in and these like rules and guidelines and combines it with the gospel of the Mormon church because they were Mormons. They are Mormons. So people were hoping when Sherry went to college, she would find out that what her mom was doing and these teachings were not normal. And so she went to BYU as an escape from her family. And her freshman year, she still was very much like judging people because she's like, oh, you're wearing that, or oh, you're teaching that, you're going to that's not how that is.
Mm-hmm.
But as she got farther into it, she started realizing, no, it's not these people who are wrong. It's actually what my mom is teaching and what Connections is teaching. And so she started attending therapy. And from there, she's realized her mom is the one that's wrong and she's trying to get back on track. But when she said that when they first started filming everything, she found it strange they were bringing a camera everywhere, but accepted that they needed it for money. So I'm like, telling a little kid this because she was younger. She wasn't little, but she was I think she was like 12 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Around that age. And like telling this little child that, oh yeah, we need it for money. It's just so wrong. In 10th grade, Sherry and her family joined a mental health therapy group, which she said was great at first. Then the therapist started connecting her teachings with the gospel, and then it just like got all confused in Sherry's brain. And then that's what she thought was what she was supposed to believe, but it wasn't. And then the life coach told her she had no empathy or compassion for others. Like, as a teen, if you're telling that statement, someone, it's like really screwed up. Like, this caused her to judge people, thinking she had no empathy. She would pray, and these therapists would continue telling her that she wasn't getting anywhere, that she still had no compassion and no empathy for other people, even though she felt like she did, and she prayed about it, and then she got confused there because she's like, was God not answering my prayers? And then once all that, she finally stepped back from her family. She's pretty much dropped all connections with them. She doesn't talk to him other than like an aunt. Uh, and she's recovering. What was I gonna say? Oh, her story shows the danger of like family YouTube and the stress it puts on the kids, and like they come out and they're like the stories that they have to say is so sad.
Yeah, I do like think it's kind of like I know a lot of people said this regarding her comment about not talking to anyone, that like she doesn't talk to the siblings. Like I do think it's kind of weird she doesn't talk to any of her siblings.
That
Like
is a little odd.
I was like, obviously, like the 10-year-old did not get asked to be put in this situation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. No.
But just like I've listening to a couple of the videos, like one of the videos I was watching, the mom like made one of the girls do her hair on her own, and she was like sad about it and upset because couldn't figure it out, and she wanted two braids, but she didn't know how to do two braids. So then she was like sad as she's trying to learn to braid because her mom said she had to do it on her own. And then she's like, well, I guess I'll just do two ponies. And then she couldn't figure that out. So she's like, I guess I'll just put it up in a big pony. It's not what I want. And I was like, oh, just telling your kid, figure it out. Like, I was like, we were told to figure things out, but like, we were also shown. And she was just told, go in the bathroom and do what you want with your hair, but it has to look good and presentable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to show you how to do it.
Yeah, I feel like the way she parents, it's like she has such a disdain for her kids, but they like she makes profit off of them.
Mm.
Like she just like treats them like they're like something she can make money off of, and not like something that she's supposed to protect.
Yeah, she definitely treats them more as items and not children.
Yeah.
Not like human beings. That is everything on the 8 passengers.
Okay. So much like how influencers are kind of like the modern day socialites, like the OG influencer, it was like Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, Nicole Richie, like all the ones that used to run around. Like that's who like Charli D'Amelio and Addison Rae are now. But family vloggers are essentially like an offshoot of reality TV, just kind of with like a little bit less regulations. Calista just like stabbed herself with a knee.
I hit myself in the knee with my computer.
Some examples are kind of what we talked about them a couple weeks ago, but 19 Kids and Counting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe is the first family reality TV show. A lot of people grew up watching John and Kate plus 8. I loved that show growing up.
Uh-huh.
This is a little bit different, like Super Nanny, Little People, Big World. Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Yeah. And so these are essentially an offshoot of that, except they're a little bit less regulated because there's not like a production studio behind them. But much like there is in these shows, like we're seeing in these shows, and even in child actors, you're also seeing this in family vlogging, like the issues being like child labor laws, the lasting impact of it, just like a digital footprint, and kind of the idea of like selling your children on the internet. So the first one we wanted to talk about is child labor laws. So child labor laws are a little bit different for each state, but on average, a child must not exceed an entertainment or TV, must not exceed 8 hours a day. And there's only a certain amount of time that they can work during that. For those 8 hours, they're supposed to have breaks. There's required amount of like learning they have to do, and in some sets even require like a child psychologist or therapist to be on them. However, exists so specifically in California, which is like the most popular hub of YouTubers, reality TV or paid social media does not qualify under child labor or performer laws. So if a parent wants to stick a camera in front of their child for 16 hours a day, it is not technically considered working, and so they can do that.
That's so sad.
So, Dance Moms, which was I believe, started in 2008, I think, and then it went for 8 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I love that show. It's very good, but they are known for violating child labor laws because they have the girls working for like 12 hours a day because they would have just mics on them the entire time. And now, even though the show mainly regarded the moms, it did have the kids doing, like, the kids still had to take dance classes to be able to do all the stuff they're supposed to be on the show for, and like anytime they were mic'd and stuff. So they're kind of known. There's been a lot of the girls, now that they've grown up, have come out about how much that the production violated their child labor laws. And so if a big production studio can do that, like, if it's not regulated, like, think about how many hours a day that these kids in these vlogs have, like, the camera on them, because like we record for like 2.5 to 3 hours to boil down to like an hour and a half episode. And so these family vlogs that take place over an entire day, like, they have a camera in their face from the morning that they wake up until they go to bed at night, and even long after that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there is some change regarding this, especially that more people are becoming familiar with it. In Illinois, there's a bill introduced called the Child Labor Online Content Bill, and it requires children to get a share of their parents' earnings, which is a fairly new thing for paid social media, because it's actually was a thing. It's actually only recently become a thing for child actors, because people's parents would have their child in acting, and then they would just take all their money their child made. Britney Spears is a great example of this. I read Jeanette McCurdy's book for the podcast. She's a great example of this. I can't remember what her name is, but she was on a couple of TV shows in the 90s, and she was in Camp Rock, is a good example. And they've, like, a whole bunch of people have come out regarding this, saying that their parents essentially took everything that they made. And so there's been recent laws that have been passed that a certain percentage of earnings goes into like a savings account, like a trust fund that can't be touched until the child turns 21. But that's not a thing in social media quite yet. However, Washington actually did a good bill for once, and they're one of the first few states to introduce a bill that once the child turns 18, they have the right to demand that any content which had their face, their name, or their likeness to be permanently deleted, no matter how much money they have made or are currently making off of it. So, like, let's say when the kid from 8 Passenger, I know they don't live in Washington, but like, say they posted that, that bill got passed in their state, and the kid, the oldest son, was his name Chad?
Yes.
Turns 18, he could demand that any video with his name or likeness or like face in it could be deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be what, almost every single one of
them.
All of their videos. Yeah. So it's an interesting bill, and it's like to the benefit of the children. Like, it's kind of affecting, like, I guess, their digital footprint, which goes to you, Callista.
Yes. So a digital footprint refers to the trail of data you leave when you use the internet. Anytime you use the internet, whether you're checking your email or searching something in Google. Posting a picture of your kid on your private or public social media contributes to their digital footprint. But imagine a video of your child's every move and milestone, like the amount of stuff that puts to their digital footprint that could later be used against them. Like if they, had some misbehaved, and then they go to, I don't know, get a job, and for some reason they decide to search the internet for every single detail of this person. They could be like, "Well, this one time you stole a candy bar."
There's already been an example of this. In like 2 seasons ago, on the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team, there was a girl, and there was a girl that was in training camp who was kicked out of training camp because a video she'd posted like a year before of her dancing to a song, and part of the choreography was like flashing the middle finger to the screen, and they completely kicked her out of training camp for that.
Yep.
Like, that's what
Um,
your digital footprint is.
yeah. Like, these parents are putting every good day, every bad day, and this can all be used against their kids in the future. These moments don't go away even if deleted. Like, technically, we might, as general public, might not have access to these deleted videos, but big tech does, the government does, like, whoever wants to get these that are big names can get this deleted content.
Oh, and you could easily find this deleted content. You could use the Wayback Machine. You could like find someone
Exactly.
who downloaded it. Like, I'm sure the moment that's deleted, it will pop up again on Reddit.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And it will that's what's happening, like, any old statement that was said by, like, even conservative, like, commentators, if somebody says something that offended somebody, they will find that video, e
Mhm.
even if it was something deleted.
Yeah, or like all these celebrities who are getting canceled over tweets that they made like 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Speaking of that, Greta Thunberg, whatever, um, posted back in 2018 that tomorrow, as in tomorrow, will be that five-year mark since when she tweeted that we were all gonna be, uh, ru wiped away
Mm.
because of fossil fuels if we don't
Mhm.
stop using them. So, we might not be able to put this podcast out because we might all be dead tomorrow.
Dare you?
Yeah, yeah, she did it 6/22, 2020 or 2018. It's like, "Hmm, so we might maybe this podcast episode will go out, you know."
Mm.
That's just an example because she's had a couple that she's had to delete because the date has come up and what she claimed was gonna happen didn't happen.
That's funny.
So that's just what made me think of that because it was like these tweets can be found and people will use them against you.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's like shows like Super Nanny that those leave a large footprint, like digital footprint, because they like come in and they film every moment of your life. Um, Super Nanny has actually ruined many lives for families. Families have spoke out about it, how the editing made them look worse than they actually were. Kids' bad moments were put out for everyone to see. There was families who literally lost their houses and stuff afterwards because they financially were just not well after it. So I was like, "Hmm,
I hate Super Nanny. I hate Super Nanny so much. Oh, why? Why do you want to publicize these kids at their worst moments? And they're dropping like
exactly,
full first and last names, exactly where they live.
exactly."
Like, they do like full scapes in the neighborhood they live in. They say their first, their last name, their state. Like, you know exactly where every single one of these people lives.
Uh-huh, which is why, that's leave such a large digital footprint. Your whole entire existence is out for everyone to see.
Hmm. That show's still going, by the way. Like, they
Uh-huh.
revamped it. It's still going. Mhm.
And there's several versions of similar things, like, in different countries.
Yeah.
Because I found some of them. I was like,
Yeah, there's like parental control and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and Nanny 911.
So I just kind of want to talk about the concept of selling your children on the internet. So the first thing is that like the idea of family vlogging from a from the person who's running the channel, your child is no longer viewed as your child. It is viewed as a means of a paycheck. To be honest, no one has ever watched a family vlog for the parents. Most of the times, the parents are so boring, and the kid is what makes them entertaining. Lila Brats.
Also, not even that they're entertaining. Like these people go to see the cute kids versus no one wants the parents.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care about the parents.
Or in a predatory way. I can't remember the exact number, but I believe it's really, really high. Everly LeBrant, if you look at like her followers and the analytics that views her page, is I think it's about 90% is viewed by men 45 and older.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, it's a really high number. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah,
which is terrible. That's so gross.
Yeah.
Or like, so there's a child YouTuber.
If you notice this, why aren't you doing something about it? Why aren't you like taking your child off the internet? Because there has been some recent like TikTokers and stuff who have done that. They've started like blurring faces of their kids because they had so many issues with like these predators that they were like, well, we're just gonna blur our kids' faces. And then people get mad at them because they're like, well, we want to see it. And it's like they're protecting the privacy of their children.
Yeah. Gigi Hadid, very, very famous model, like hides the face of her kid. I don't think anyone like this hides the face of their kids. And like there's actually a lot of drama because whenever her mom is out, like her mom is out with the kids, like she doesn't hide their faces. Gigi Hadid does that. There's a couple other celebrities who just like completely hide the faces of their kids. Dolly Parton like notoriously just hides her husband, like just completely hides them.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't actually exist. Figment of our imagination.
Yep, actually, she doesn't even have a husband. Dolly Parton doesn't exist. So the child is viewed as a paycheck. I said the children are viewed as a way to make the money and content and content instead of something that they're meant to protect. It's a suspicious the sheer amount of children that some of these people pump out because of their videos. The most viewed episodes of 19 Kids and Counting are the ones that where a new child is born. In the LeBrant channel, when Posey was born, the 2 videos documenting her birth had a combined view count of 37 million views. And in Colleen Ballinger's videos, the birth of my son has 33 million views on one video. And like I kept going through and like I kept getting recommendations for like family vloggers and like all the birth and like their birth videos, and each one's like 30 million views, 40 million views every single time they have a kid. So it's like it makes you think, like especially like some of these ones where they like chronicle like all the way through. I was like, are you doing this because you want more kids, or are you doing this because you are making like 6 digits a month off of how much you like, because you monetize it, you do brand deals off of it, you get more brand deals off of that stuff because you can like So then there's that. Then there's the idea that everything and anything is content. It's not uncommon to see parents stick a camera in their child's face while they're crying, especially if you can use it as an excuse to get views. Unfortunately, it does make really good TV. I mean, just look at how many seasons of Super Nanny there are. The most viewed episodes are where children are having mental breakdowns in the middle of the episode.
Exactly.
One of the so a YouTuber actually got caught doing this. So Jordan Cheyenne, who is a family vlogger, who she still makes videos to this day, but a couple of years ago, and the clip resurfaces all the time. They were giving their dog away. Actually, giving their dog away. It wasn't a prank. We're giving their dog away. And so she's sitting in the front seat of her car, and her son's sitting next to her in the car. Son's crying. She's crying. She's fake crying. And there she's talking about it. And then she forgot. She like something got misedited where it didn't get cut out at the end of the YouTube video. And so the ending is her making the thumbnail clip. And so she like pulls the son over and she's like, pretend that you're crying. And he goes, I am crying. Like he's currently crying. And she's like moving him around and like pretending to cry and like trying to get like the thumbnail clip. And it's so uncomfortable and like so disgusting. Like I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then finally I said that like it just ruins a kid's childhood. Like as much as we're given an illusion that they're like given a choice, these kids are not given a choice. I think the best example of this is like the recent trend in like RV kids, which I believe that like since RV, the idea of like the RV families is such a new one to be monetized that in a couple years it's going to come out like how like damaging the lifestyle is from the kids once they grow up, because because the RV families, they make all of their money off of documenting how they do it. So if they were and so the idea that they're like, well, if the kids ever wanted us to stop moving around like this, we would, is not true, because if they ever stopped moving around like this, they lose their content. And so then they are they no longer have an income based off of that. And I am sure that is explained to the kids. Like that is explained to the kids, and that's what they do. Like they're if they stop doing that, like the burden falls on the kid's shoulder essentially, and like it makes the kid feel bad because they are the income.
Well, that's like Sherry from the 8 Passengers was like, well, it was weird having the camera all the time, but I knew that was how we had to make money. And it's like, you didn't know that, your parents told you that.
I'll talk about this more, but Jeanette McCurdy talks about that a little bit, where she says that she didn't like acting growing up, but she didn't like acting, but she did it because it was what her mom wanted her to do. And if she didn't want her to do it, her mom would cry and she would bend to her mom's wounds because she wants to please her. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I have for my part.
Okay. So the lasting effects of family vlogging. It's like sad to think about because there's so many of them. These kids have had their privacy taken because the parents made a decision to make a quick buck off of them. And yes, I know it takes more than a quick second to make money off of YouTube, but it's still it's less draining than a full-time job. So obviously if they can make more money off of these YouTube channels and these TikToks and everything, they're going to do that over the job because they're like, well, it's the easier option. Like the mental health aspect. These kids grow up with cameras in their face, and some very odd groups that the parents are part of, or like cultish like churches and groups, or the parents are just straight up messed up and psychotic, like the 8 Passengers mom. But like readjusting from this lifestyle is so hard. Like they grow up and they decide, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Like it's hard for them to transition. Like Sherry talks about how she had to go to therapy to like figure this out because part of it was her mom's issues, but like you still have the transition would be so weird going from everything being there and then not having the cameras, and it seems weird to like think about it that way because we would be like, oh well, now you don't have the cameras, it should be easy, and it's like that was their life.
Yeah.
Like more and more kids are speaking out as now they're like adults about like how it was growing up and like how they felt towards their parents because these weren't decisions they made. These are 100% decisions their parents made. And I guess like my final thoughts on this point is like you wouldn't sell your kids on a street corner, so why would you sell them on the internet?
Exactly.
That
I
might have
think
been a little bit of a unhinged opinion, but or
yeah. And
statement,
I
but,
think
you know.
I also think it's interesting that we've already seen this in the generation of child actors who grew up, especially like the 90s, the ones that were
Exactly.
sold. Okay. Like, think about how many child actors just stopped acting the moment they turned 18. Like, Macaulay Culkin just completely, I mean, Macaulay Culkin had his issues, but Macaulay Culkin, the Olsen twins, like, the moment they turned 18, they started a fashion company and now they're just like never seen in public. Um,
Uh-huh.
Jeanette McCurdy is a great example. Um, the younger sister, I know she's now on Fuller House, but the middle sister from Full House, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't remember. I read a memoir. It's really sad. She's like a huge drug addiction.
Yeah, I don't.
Trying to think of other examples. There's a whole bunch of different examples of like these kids who were forced into it, were forced to acting because like no kid like kids wake up and be like a kid will wake up and be like, I want to be an actor, and then you can like get them involved in community theater. But to get your kid to be like a professional actor, like that's the parents pushing them into it.
Exactly.
Mhm. Anyways, Calista, do you have any concluding thoughts on this topic?
Um, other than I honestly I think I hate TikTok moms more than I hate or, like, TikTok parents more than I hate YouTube families, and I don't know why.
Really, I realized how much more I hated YouTube families than I hated TikTok parents.
Uh-huh.
There's something about YouTube that it feels more lasting, whereas
Yeah,
TikTok, it goes by so fast. But I have seen some truly horrendous TikTok parents.
yeah.
Like the one who cut her daughter's hair. Did you
Mhm.
see that? And like cut her daughter's box braids off.
Yeah.
That one made me really sad, and she actually had her child taken away from that for that, and that I believe. And then I'm trying to think of anything else.
I don't know, I I feel like with TikTok, there's more opportunity for, like, predators and, like,
Hmm.
you look at their, like, likes, it's all older people, older
Yeah.
men, especially, and it's like, I'm sure YouTube might be the same way, but I don't know.
Yeah, like I think of so there's a child YouTuber called Piper Raquel, which you have no idea who she is.
No
Yes, it
idea.
is. I only knew because she's like friends with some of the Dance Moms girls. But there's a child YouTuber named Piper Raquel. She makes essentially the same content as JoJo Siwa, just a little less wholesome. Like, and her mom is crazy. Like her mom would like sell bikini pictures of her to older men and stuff. And
No
her mom
thanks.
got in trouble for kissing a 16-year-old boy while she was drunk on a live stream.
She didn't get in trouble for selling bikini pictures of her daughter, though?
Mm-mm. As a minor, I believe Piper's like 14. She's young. I don't think she has a driver's license. Yeah.
That's like yeah,
Distribution of
no.
child pornography. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It seems like it, but I believe since there's no technical nudity, that it is because Piper posts like bikini pictures on her Instagram and stuff. But it should be considered
But
distribution of child pornography.
yeah, because like, if the child is posting it on their Instagram or, like, the girl is,
Yeah, I don't know. So
I don't know, because
the
it's
content she puts out is very questionable.
yeah, I'm just like, Instagram would be different than selling it. You're not selling your picture.
But you make profit off of them.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, shall we talk about pop culture?
We shall.
Two things. Number one, update on Shiny Happy People. Jill Duggar's coming out with a memoir. So I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna do her memoir and her memoir and the documentary at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Two. I know about the submarine thing with the Titanic. However, I mean, those people will either be dead or alive by the time this episode comes out. So it doesn't matter if we cover it because it doesn't matter if we cover it because the story breaks in like 2 days.
Exactly.
Number 3. I read Jeanette McCurdy's book. It's the #1 New York Times bestseller. It's called I'm Glad My Mom Died. So I'm assuming older people don't know, but Jeanette McCurdy she's a child actor. Most of the people our age know her as Sam from iCarly and in Sam and Cat. She was also in a couple Nickelodeon movies, like the Fred movie and stuff. And then she did a lot of like child extra appearances growing up. But I read her memoir, and she talks about her very complicated relationship with her mom because her mom essentially forced her into acting. And her mom essentially forced her into acting and like caused a lot of traumatic issues for her and stuff. And she just talks about what it's like to be a child star. 100% recommend this book. It is so good. It's only like 300 pages, so it's not a very long read. I am almost done with it. I have like 20 pages left, and I would say it's taken me like 4 hours to read it, but I'm a very fast reader. But I wanted to pull I pulled some quotes from it just because of they relate a lot to what we talked about this episode. So this one comes from the second chapter, and they don't have like a lot of income. Like her mom is a stay-at-home mom and her dad doesn't make very much. And so she has a very codependent relationship with her mom. And so the they're sitting in the mom's bathroom and they're talking, and she's sick at this point, I believe. And her mom, so that she says, mom says to her, I want to give you the life I never had. Net, I want to give you the life I deserve, the life my parents wouldn't let me have. Okay, I'm nervous about what's coming next. And she says, I think you should act. I think you'd be a great little actress. Blonde, blue-eyed, you're what they love in that town. And she says, in what town? In Hollywood. Her mom responds, and she says, isn't Hollywood far away? And the mom says, an hour and a half. Granted, freeways are involved. I would have to learn how to drive freeways, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for you. Because I'm not like my parents. I want what's best for you always. You know that, right? And she says, yeah. And so the mom pauses the way she does before she's about to say something she thinks is a part of a big moment. She bends around to look me in the eye, still holding my unfinished hairstand. So what do you say? You want to act? You want to be mommy's little actress? And then she says, there's only one right answer. So I said, this is an example of the idea that there's like a false sense of choice for a child.
Mm-hmm.
Like when your parent comes at you like that, like what are you going to say? No.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that one. And then, this one was sad. I don't remember that. So this one comes from when she's actually doing the acting. And so, actually, that's all good. Number 79. So this actually comes from a moment in the book. So this is a little later on. She's been doing it for a couple of years, and like throughout the entire first part of the book, she talks about how she like absolutely hates acting, like every single moment of it from when she was 6. The entire time she just hated acting, but she only did it because her mom liked it. And so they're driving home from school. They're driving home from a not a school. They're driving home from a shoot where she had to cry on cue for it, but she was having a really hard. She was able to do it for a little bit, but like that day, she like was like 8. She didn't want to cry on cue that day. No 8-year-old wants to cry on cue most days. And so they ended up like she ended up losing out on the part for the audition, and her mom was really mad about it. And so she says, but I don't, the audition doesn't go well. My heart isn't in it. I don't feel my words. And worst of all, I do not cry on cue. I tank. And so then she's sitting in the back of the car and they're on their way home. And she says, I don't want to act anymore. I say before I even realize I said it. Mom looks at me in the rearview mirror. A mixture of shock and disappointment fills her eyes. I immediately regret saying anything. Don't be silly. You love acting. It's your favorite thing in the world, Mom says in a way that makes it sound like a threat. I look out the window. The part of me that wants to please her thinks maybe she's right. Maybe it is my favorite thing. I just don't know it. I just don't realize it. There's a part of me that doesn't want to cry on cue, that doesn't want to act, that doesn't care about pleasing Mom and just wants to please me. The part of me screams at me to speak up. My face gets hot, compelling me to say something. No, I really don't want to. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. Mom looks at me like she just ate a lemon. It contorts in a way that terrifies me. I know what's coming next. You can't quit, she sobs. This was our chance. This is our chance. She bangs on the steering wheel, hysterically hitting the horn. Mascara trickles down her cheeks. She's hysterical, like I was in the Hollywood homicide audition. Her hysteria frightens me and demands me to be taken care of. Never mind, I said so loudly. I said loudly so Mom can hear it through the sobs. Her crying stops immediately, except for one leftover sniffle. But as soon as the sniffle's over, it's complete silence. I'm not the only one who can cry on cue. Never mind, I repeat. Let's just forget I said anything. Sorry. That scene made me very sad. It was like I had like put the book down for a minute and be like, oh, this is so sad.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like, it's like due to her mom that she develops OCD. And so like it's you like watch her develop it without her realizing what it is. And so like one of the things is like she thought it was God telling her that she needed to like do things in like a series of 5 before she did something. So she used to have like turn lights on a series of 5, turn circles or something like that. And then her mom also had a was like super strict with her and like would sleep in the same bed as her pretty much until she turned 18.
That's
And
odd.
she would like sleep in her same bed. When she was 16, she would shave her legs for her. And when they and then like she gave her an eating disorder. Like she said that she was Jeanette McCurdy, I think is like 5'6", 5'7", and she demanded that she weigh 89 pounds.
On the shaving, there's just some days you don't want to bend down, but it is odd.
No, I would love if someone would shave my legs for me. If I could just wake up every morning and someone shaved my legs for if someone did it while I was sleeping, even better.
Yeah, it's just but it is odd that your mom is doing it even when you're, like, older.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just odd.
Yeah. This book is incredibly sad. It is very like sweet. Like there's a lot of things about like her that is just like very sweet. Like I never watched iCarly, but I knew of it.
Mhm.
And I knew of this book and a lot of it, and it's gotten really good reviews. And it's a definite read.
Mhm.
I 100% recommend it. Um, and I think that she is a very, very talented writer. The way that she writes from perspective as a child, I think you'd like it actually. It's a very good read. And it's yellow. I love yellow. I got it on sale too. It was sold
So
out
so
on Amazon.
do you judge a book by its cover?
100% yes.
You're just excited about it being yellow, so I was like, maybe you do.
Well, so let me tell you why I bought this book. This specific book.
Okay. She's disappearing. The book has yellow pages.
Yeah, it does. That's why I bought it.
It looks like somebody highlighted it.
It's a historical telling. It's basically like the telling of a history of a small town in Iowa where an army of 6-foot-tall praying mantises took over it.
Oh.
It's called Grasshopper Jungle.
Why is it called Grasshopper Jungle and it's praying mantises?
You know, I never thought about that. It did win the Michael Prince Award for excellence in young adult literature.
No, why now?
See, now that makes you want to read it, doesn't it?
Sort of, but also, like, it just annoys me. Like, why did you title it Grasshoppers and then talk about praying mantises? Those are two completely different insects.
I don't know, but there's something that gives me the absolute heebie-jeebies of a 6-foot-tall praying mantis.
Yeah. As somebody who has seen both praying mantises and grasshoppers, my sister and I had a pet grasshopper once.
Mm-hmm.
We kept it in a little jar, and then we kept it for like a year in the jar. We would feed it and everything, and then we decided we were done with that. And instead of letting the said grasshopper free, because we thought it was like dying, and we like threw it the jar in a bush. And like 2 years later, we pull it out, and this grasshopper is still alive in the jar. And so we like let it go, but we were like, how did it survive? We also thought it was dead, but then it wasn't dead.
You ever seen 12 Years a Slave?
No.
You're like that grasshopper's 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, no. I don't know why. Abigail and I forgot about that memory until literally a couple days ago, and then we said something about grasshoppers, and we're like, the grasshopper we had as a pet that we then threw in a bush that then survived 2 years in a jar with no food. And I suppose the only water it would have got was like condensation.
Apparently, it's a coming of age story. I don't know. It's my plain book, so I'm going to read it. So I'll talk about it next episode.
Okay.
I got that, and I got The Hate U Give, which ended up being made into a movie.
I believe my mom's read that one.
I'm excited about that one, and I got one that was called What Kind of Girl.
Mm.
Two very politically charged books.
Yeah.
Although I remembered liking it. I never watched The Hate U Give, but I remember hearing it was actually pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Let's finish this up.
Let's do this.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of I Don't Want to Talk About Politics. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at IDWTap_podcast. Also, check out our personal Instagrams at Ali.joy173
and Callista J1776.
As always, in the description below, you can check out our references and send us an email, a voice message, or you can support the podcast. Also, make sure to vote in episode's poll, which will be, I'm changing that, which will be, do you want us to cover Trump's indictment? No, because I don't want to cover Trump's indictment.
I don't, exactly.
Okay. Make sure to vote in this episode's poll. Do you think that kids belong on the internet? Callista, what are we talking about next week?
Next week we're talking 3, 2, 1. Next week we're taking it back to 2016 when we all thought for sure that Trump had re-election in the bag. Remember that we here at I Don't Want to Talk About Politics 100% believe that the 2020 election was a fair election without any interference or questionable outcomes. During his campaign in the completely fair election, Trump had crowds of people chanting America First. So next week we'll be discussing what it means to be an American first, to be America first, and the mortality?
Nope. No. Mortality is a different thing. It's morality.
Yep. Morality. I don't know why I said that. Okay. The morality of being a global citizen. And one more time for the people in the back, President Joe Biden is the true winner of the 2020 election and did not at all win because a council of powerful Democrats, which does not exist, that live in the White House basement, which also doesn't exist, stole the election.
Wow, Callista, I could not have said it better myself that President Joe Biden, who fairly won the election, along with Vice President and soon-to-be President Kamala Harris,
yes,
are the true, I would say not even presidents, but king and queen of the United States.
Obviously.
And the White House basement, which does not exist, is not full of a council of Democrats, which also doesn't exist, that run this country.
Exactly. With Obama on that council of Democrats.
This doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist.
Okay. Once again, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.